Hello, this is Will from Adventure AIO, and today I will be discussing the value of the secret lair Hatsune Miku commander decks leaked based on both the value of the individual leaked cards and the value of previous Miku themed secret lair drops. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly is Hatsune Miku? Well, Hatsune Miku is from Vocaloid, a group of virtual J-pop idols. The secret layer deck was leaked through somebody being sent the deck instead of their secret layer Goblin Sword deck they were supposed to receive. The person then proceeded to sell the deck on eBay for thousands of dollars. However, this is not indicative of the deck's final price once it releases en masse, due to there being a premium on the deck due to it being the first of its kind. Now, let's take a look at the previous secret layer drops themed around Miku to get some context. So here, we have some individual cards, but I'm more going to focus on the value of the secret layer drops as a whole, since those are easier to sell and relist. Yeah. So if we look here, we see that a lot of these decks are around the price that they were originally sold at, which is $30. However, it is important to note that these are the Japanese drops so far, for everything up until here, and then there's a huge spike. Now you may be wondering why this is. This is because Magic players greatly value playability, and these decks, or these drops, that have the Japanese language are not nearly as playable due to people having to use their phone to figure out what the card does if they don't already know Japanese. So let's start by looking at the first English drop with that in mind. Now if we look, this one on the lower end did start at about $40. And considering that it was likely sold for $30, there really isn't much margin there yet. That being said, if you look, it's been steadily climbing and has been rapidly spiking over the last month to about $80, which gives you a lot more margin. And as we continue, we can see another similar drop here that's actually going from 120. And if we look, that's recently spiked a lot as well. And then here we're actually getting to some of the good stuff, where we have drops going for 180. Or actually, this is going more like 300. So there actually has been a lot of demand recently, possibly maybe the leak of the commander deck itself encouraging more sales. But yeah, if we look here, even a year ago, it was around $90. Again, this is most likely due to the different value of the cards inside, and it also being foiled does give it somewhat more collectible value. So yeah, that's a Soul Ring, which is almost ubiquitously played in Commander, which is Magic's most popular format. And it has some other good cards such as Court of Calling and Fest Me at the Stage. So that kind of makes sense why it's been going for a lot of value there. Trying to see what we actually have on the high end here. That isn't like an entire bundle of drops. Which again, this can also be worth selling as a set. So this on the higher end is also around 300. And if you look about a year ago, it was selling for about 100. That being said, if we actually look at the value the individual cards within, I do think it is going to go for a lot more than the 300 for some of these drops. Especially when you consider the. Well, I guess I meant to say, which is good, when you consider the fact that the commander deck is most likely going to be selling for around 150 to 200. Although it could be more. Again, we haven't gotten the initial prices. So one good place to check sometimes, especially for like leaks, is the MTG wiki. You'll have people who have cobbled together things from different Reddit posts and stuff like that. And it kind of gives a list of a lot of the leaked cards. Now, if we just look at the base copy of these cards, we'll see that one of the cards, Finale of Devastation, is already a $50 card. So that's pretty good to see. And then if we look over here, Archangel of Foon is also a $50. Well, let's actually check this a little bit closer. Yeah, okay, it's a $50 card. Sometimes just get a little bit confused when you're looking because you gotta see how much actual listings are, not just what it says for the market price. So yeah, we're talking like, and it's like two $50 cards. I guess the Marvel borderless version is going for less, but again, that probably is because the art and kind of I don't know, I guess how much appeal Marvel has. So yes, it is something to keep in mind. But again, it's just one card in a 100-card deck, so it's not too big of a deal. Then the lower end, you got some stuff like Roaring Clocks, which is still a pretty popular card. It's just been reprinted a good amount of times. It's had a few other secret layer drops. And has been just, yeah, it's been reprinted a few times. Again, the Multiverse Legend sheet. We also have, I wouldn't really read the list, but we also have like the Iconic Masters. And it still isn't a super powerful card, but it is played a decent amount. Then we also have one of the lands in here, Battlefield Promenade, which, despite just being reprinted in the Marvel Commander deck, is still $10 and is likely to go up. Especially considering that these cards are pretty much ubiquitous in Commander as one of the better lands. And then if we go here to the... Okay, I don't know why I put that in the comments. But this also shows that, again, a lot of these cards have unique art and everything, and it's going to have some sort of cohesive theme. And most likely around tokens, since Tristani is the commander, which isn't too valuable in itself. Trying to see anything I missed. Ring Crescendo is like a $20 card, and then Soul Warren doesn't work much, but yeah. Then we also have the fact that it has a lot of different. If I can get all the way down here. It has a bunch of these foil lands that normally in a super layer drop would go for $40 on their own. And yeah, people who want to play a Sandy Miku themed deck are going to one of those lands if they don't get the drop. So this is probably going to be the main way people try and build decks around that IP. And Shalai is also a decently valuable card. And I've seen if you go for the Reddit post, there's a good amount of sentiment over how expensive this deck is probably going to be. And considering the overall value of the cards leaked, it's around $600 so far, and that only includes 25 cards out of the about 60 or so non-land cards in the deck. I would say they have a pretty good chance to be right. Now, I will go back to this once the actual full Commander deck has been released, or yeah, it's been published, and give more an opinion then. But yeah, that's kind of my opinion on the whole drop, or the whole leak so far.